but you're getting all the nutrients from the fruit as opposed to what just comes out in the juicer, and then you throw away all that pulp. All right, so I would rather you blend than juice. All right, if you do juice, you need to drink that almost immediately. Whatever you juice, it can't sit. Because think about this. I'm gonna resort to this analogy multiple times today. If I cut an apple and leave it on the counter, in like 30 minutes it starts turning brown. It's oxidizing, it's dying. So when you juice and then you drink a little bit and then you put it in the fridge, air is getting to that and killing everything in it. So what you're left with over time is just sugar water, okay? And that goes the same with any juice you buy, orange juice, apple juice. Like if you listen, when you open any one of those juices, you'll hear a tss, that's air getting in, and it's immediately killing everything. So what ends up happening is that first glass is the only glass you really get any nutrients from. But here's what I like to explain to you or even ask you when it comes to buying juice is you never know how long that juice has been around. Like, we don't think about that. I read a report a while ago that said that some of the big players in like orange juice actually hire the same people who make our perfumes and colognes. They hire them to reintroduce the scent and the color of oranges to orange juice, because it turns gray apparently over time. So what they do is by using real orange essence, whether it's the peel and stuff like that, they can reintroduce the flavor, reintroduce the scent and the color. And the reason why they don't have to put that on a label is because it's made with real oranges, just not at the same time. So think about that for a second. How long has that orange juice been sitting in a vat before it ends up in a container and then ends up at your house? So once again, please eat the fruit. And then I'll also say this. You know, I asked you guys to eat Greek yogurt and then add your own blueberries and nuts and stuff like that. But if you were buying the Greek yogurt with the fruit on the bottom, just ask yourself, how long has that been in that container? And how is it not rotten and moldy? Chemicals. So I would rather you buy fresh blueberries, almonds, and then add that to your own Greek yogurt. All right? So some of these things I like to say are to shock you a little bit and to get you to understand that like, it's just stuff we take for granted. Now, let me tell you another thing about orange juice that's kind of shady. But you can Google this. You can try to look for it in the stores. But a lot of times, I mean, a lot of the marketing is designed to create emotion. So when you're shopping and then you look and you're like, oh, this orange juice has calcium added. My kids need calcium. Let me buy that orange juice. The problem is, a lot of times, like I said earlier, they add just enough calcium legally to be able to put it on the label. But then what you need to do is then flip it over and see how much calcium is actually in the container. A lot of times, so in some cases, like I said, Google this. In some cases, it'll say 0%. And by the nutritional facts, when it says like vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D, calcium, it'll say 0%. So you bought it with the assumption that's going to help you or help your kids, and in reality, it was just to take your money, and there's no upside to buying that. So you gotta watch out for that. All right. So as we're moving through the store now, let's talk meat. All right. So ideally in Fit and 42, if we're gonna eat beef, we want it to be lean. And the way you know a cut is lean is because it's not marbled. And what marbled is the white in between the actual meat, the pink. So the less marbled, the better. And usually we like to look for like top round, bottom round. That's the leaner cuts of beef, as opposed to like your tri-tip and things like that. Chicken breast is good. When we're going for like ground beef, ground turkey, what we want to do is the leaner the better, okay? And if you ever took, so like Trader Joe's once again using that as an example, there's 96.4, meaning it's 96% lean, 4% fat ground beef. And if you ever looked at that, the nutritional facts between that and then 85-15, for one, I get to eat way more of the 96.4 because it is low fat and it has, it's primarily protein. So if it's low fat, it's low calorie. So I get to eat more to make up for those calories, as opposed to the 85-15, which has a ton of fat in it. And so the only difference is the amount of fat in the two ground beefs, all right? So when we're talking chicken and fish and beef and even eggs, what I like to say is you are what your food eats, okay? So think about this for a second. When it comes to fish, ideally we want to get wild, and once again, you'll see this in the PDF, but if you hold up a piece of wild Alaskan salmon, it's pink, it's dark pink, right? It's almost red, as opposed to farm-raised salmon with color added, which is orange. So it's kind of crazy. Like if you ask yourself, what color was that salmon before they added color to it? So this guy is living in the rivers and the ocean. He's eating other fish and plankton and all this other stuff, while this guy is eating grains and corn and whatever they throw in the pen. Now I'll tell you a really nasty story, but the Chinese are genius when it comes to efficiency. And what I mean is, they put their turkey pens and their chicken pens above their tilapia pens. So when the chickens eat and defecate, the tilapia then eat. And then they sell them to Americans, and then we eat the tilapia, which is, once again, you are what your food eats. So if your food's being raised on poop, like it's not getting a lot of nutrients, all right? So you'd rather get the wild, fresh stuff that's actually out there eating other fish and plankton and getting all sorts of nutrients that it was intended to, than the farm-raised version that's being fed stuff just to fatten it up, all right? And that's similar to chicken, turkey, beef, ideally grass-fed, free range. That's okay. I don't necessarily look for free range, because really what free range just means is that the chicken or turkey can do a 360-degree turn. So it's not really free range. They're not like walking a pasture and then they hit a dinner bell and these things all come back. They can do a 360-degree turn. It's sad, I know, but it's gonna end up food anyways, so might as well eat it, right? So what I look for, I don't care if it's free range or not, but what I look for is I don't want to pump full of antibiotics and steroids to fatten it up. So that's what I'm really concerned with. I'm concerned with grass-fed, and then I'm concerned with, or grain-fed for chickens, and no antibiotics added, or raised antibiotics-free, steroid-free, that whole thing. All right, we are what our food eats, once again. So if it's pumped full of antibiotics and steroids, some of that is going to get into our system, okay?